So today I'm going to be talking about the lessons that I have learned about um, music, about life, about just being an artist from my journey with coming up with Nemi, working with Pastor G, and working with everyone who was behind the scenes when we were coming up with Nemi the song and even the music video. So I'm just gonna go back to where it all began. So I'm sure you know by now that it all started when I did Pastor G's Makomborero TikTok challenge. And there are a number of lessons that I learned from that process. So the first lesson that I learned was that nothing is too small for you, right? I think we always have a temptation of thinking that, no, I'm now too big for a TikTok challenge, for example. I think when I did Pastor G's TikTok challenge, Hold On had been on #1 twice, and I think that in that December it was actually part of a top 5. And it would have been very easy for me to be like, no, I'm not going to do a TikTok challenge because I think I'm beyond that. But I'm so grateful to God that that I did take part in that challenge, because if I hadn't, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to work with Pastor G. The other thing that I learned was excellence, doing everything with your whole heart, soul, mind, and strength, and doing it unto the Lord. When I did the TikTok challenge, I did the whole nine. I put on makeup. I got a really good phone to take the thing. I recorded using a computer software with a condenser mic and everything. And I remember thinking to myself that, okay, this is just a little bit too much for a TikTok challenge. But I think Pastor G really appreciated the effort that we had put into coming up with the challenge, the TikTok challenge. So I think that was a really big lesson that I learned to always do everything unto the Lord and not for man, and bringing glory to Him through the small things. So that is a lesson that I learned from participating on a challenge. The other thing that I learned was that God works together for the good of those who love Him. I remember when I did the challenge, I think when I submitted it, I had missed the deadline. For some reason, I missed the deadline. But I think God then used it somehow to make it all work together for His good. And that was really exciting when I then eventually got the opportunity to meet up with Pastor G and have lunch with him and talk to him. So now I'm going to move on to lessons I learned from the songwriting session. So I have never really been part of a songwriting session quite like this. And it was an absolute privilege and honor to be in the same room with Pastor G and in the same room with Simba Moyo, two people who have been doing music for years. They have worked with so many different artists, and they have produced masterpieces in their work, right, in the past. So from the songwriting session, I learned that I had to be humble, to be able to soak in all the advice, all the tips that I was getting from these two geniuses in music. From Pastor G, one particular lesson I learned was not writing in thirds, for example, when you're writing a song. Otherwise, that would actually create a divide between yourself and the audience. So that was an amazing lesson that I learned. And then from Simba Moyo, I learned so much about just coming up with the music, because he's the one who made the instrumental, he made the beats and everything. So I also learned quite a lot from him. There's a verse in the Bible that talks about two heads being better than one. And I think that verse just goes on to support the fact that we cannot do anything by ourselves, and we need other people to come up with better ideas. And when you are at a place of just being willing to learn and being willing to be humble, you're able to tap into the knowledge and the wisdom that the people around you have. So it is extremely, extremely important, I learned, to listen to what other people have to say, to accept that criticism, because sometimes you might think that you have the best idea for a song. I remember when we initially started writing Nemi, there are these lines that I'd come up with, and I thought, oh my goodness, these lines are so good. And then I had to receive feedback from Pastor G and Simba, and they were saying, okay, if you want it to be an anthem, if you want it to be a catchy song, you need to make it easy for people to sing along. And so I had to take in that feedback, because it was extremely, extremely important in coming up with the song and making it the anthem that I wanted it to be. So when it came to the recording session, oh, that session really, really humbled me. I think I mentioned it in the previous video that we did, that I thought I could sing all the parts. I thought I had, music altogether, but I didn't. I still had so much to learn. So from that experience, I learned to be coachable, to be humble, like I mentioned before, and just be willing to take in the criticism, or let me say, the critique or the positive feedback that you get from the professionals. We had Alan, who was teaching me the different parts. I remember, I think the part didn't come out in the video, where DS was playing the chords, and I just could not get the alto parts. But after, them being patient and working with me, I was eventually able to get it. But that was a humbling experience, like I mentioned before, but it was a necessary thing for me to go through, because I was so used to writing songs by myself and getting into studio and singing however I wanted, without, any constructive guidance from people who have done it for a long time. So for me, that recording session, both the recording sessions, because we actually went into studio to record Nemi twice. From both sessions, I learned so much about music. I learned so much about um, being coachable. I learned so much about just being in the same room with other creatives, working together to come up with a masterpiece. I think the other thing that I learned from the recording sessions was to just let God lead, right? Because I think as musicians, a lot of the times, okay, maybe let me speak for myself. When I'm at home, I'm rehearsing the lines, I'm practicing, making sure that I get, a specific run, or I hit a specific note or whatever, which is really important, obviously, going into studio having prepared. But it's also very important to let God lead. Um, Things won't go exactly the way you have planned it in your mind. You'll find that the melodies that you would have wanted to have on the song are not working and you have to change them. Sometimes you have to change some of the wording as you go in the song. Um, and I remember hearing another musician saying that, practice helps you for the time that you need to be spontaneous. So obviously, the practice at home was very important, but also I needed to be in a place where I could also be spontaneous and let God lead everything that I was doing at that particular moment in studio. Then obviously after we had recorded the song, we've done the songwriting sessions, we have done the recording sessions, vocal recording sessions. The time it took from the time we recorded to the time the actual song was completed, I learned to be patient. Anything worth doing takes time, and give the producer his time. He is doing something when he's doing his work, when he's doing, playing his part in the production of the song. It takes time to produce the quality that you're looking for. It takes time to produce the sound that you're looking for. And there needs to be obviously a lot of back and forth. There was a lot of back and forth between me and Simba, reviewing the songs, having a lot of takes of versions of a song. I cannot tell you how many versions of the song we went through before we actually had the final product. And you know it was amazing when I finally got to hear the final product, and the way it sounded. It was just amazing. It was, when you get into studio, you have one kind of um, expectation. You have an expectation of what the song might sound like, but when you get the final thing, it might be completely different, but in a good way. The point that I want to emphasize is that anything worth doing takes time, and we need to be patient, especially when it comes to producing excellent work. So after the song was complete, well, even before the song was complete, we already started trying to conceptualize what the music video would look like. And I tell you, I learned so many lessons about, I learned so many lessons in the process of coming up with this music video. So obviously, while we were waiting on the song to get done, I was watching a lot of music videos, trying to get inspiration in terms of, what direction the music video would be. And I think I actually had an idea before we even started that, okay, maybe we're going to have the video look like this. But it never ended up like that at all. In fact, um, through watching the videos, the other music videos, trying to get inspiration, nothing inspired me um, until I was sitting in the sun having tea, not even, just talking about stuff and talking about how cool it would be um, if, we could color grade the music video to suit the 80s. And then from there, the idea just started building up. Uh, we then decided, okay, why not actually film like it's in the 80s, in terms of have an 80s theme, have a 90s 2000 theme, have a current theme. And what that process taught me, because I had one idea in my brain, um, but something else completely different ended up happening. What that taught me is just being patient, to wait on God to lead you in the direction that you should go. Obviously, we think that something is, really good. and we want things to be in a certain way, but it might not be how God wants it to be. And so going to the source, I think during the process, even before the music video, when I met with Pastor G, he emphasized the importance of prayer, the importance of fasting, especially in this industry as Christian musicians. There are so many things that fight the the process of coming up with something that will honor God, something that will bring glory to God. So we really need to take the time to build our relationship with God. And then from that relationship, then you're able to overflow and bless other people with the word that God would have given you. So I really saw the power of prayer. I saw the power of fasting and really just bringing the project before the throne of God and asking Him to have His way in the project. And so when the idea for the music video changed from the first one, which was, probably, I think the initial idea was having people acting and going through stuff in life and all of that, to the final idea, how it came out in the end. I think it was just then God just directing even the conversation that we're having on the day that the concept was born. It was all working together for the final idea to come to fruition. The other thing that I learned was that no man is an island. You cannot do it by yourself, similar to what I mentioned about two heads are better than one. You cannot do it by yourself. I remember when we came up with the concept, okay, let's do the 80s, right? I own nothing, or I owned nothing from the 80s, right? And I needed I needed someone. I needed people who could help me um, bring this idea to fruition, right? And so I had to ask people. I had to ask for help, which is a lesson that I'm still learning as well. That's another lesson, asking for help, because we cannot do it by ourselves. I remember going to my church family and explaining, more about the video and what I was trying to do. And I remember my church pastor took the list that I'd come up with and he put it on the church group. And the next Sunday, my church family were approaching me and they were like, I've got records, I've got LPs, I've got a Sony Walkman, I've got a VCR, I've got, those old TVs. And so everything that you see on that set, we did not own anything and we did not pay for anything. God just provided for all the things that we needed through the people around us, through our church family, and through even our actual biological family. So that was an amazing lesson to learn that, I cannot do it by myself. I need other people. And I can just let my requests be known to God, and God can really move people's hearts and cause them to actually support the vision that He would have given you.